Hello, my name's Michael Keneally and this is part 2 of my general summary video for January 2021. In addition, there are some more deeper studies of the larger energies in follow-up parts of the newsletter. So, continuing the general summary, let's look a bit more into the detail of the very big, and I mean big, planetary energies, and then the not so big ones. Mind you, they're pretty big. So the first of these, if you refer to part 1, is about the nodes of the moon and the presence of Kalsarpa Yoga, which creates a divisive and preposterous energy in the heavens affecting all of us. And as I said in part 1, just because one planet might be the other side of the nodal axis from all the other planets, or even 2 planets, that does not mean that the divisive and preposterous energy is not there. In fact, the planet or a couple of planets to the other side can be unsupported and fraught in themselves. So please realise that and look at the charts as day by day the planets move in relation to the nodal axis. Now in January 2021, the nodes of the moon move as follows. Rahu, the north node, moves from 26 degrees Vedic Taurus to 24 degrees Vedic Taurus. Ketu, the south node, which is always opposite Rahu, moves from 26 degrees Vedic Scorpio to 24 degrees Vedic Scorpio. And in fact, the nodes continue transiting through the Vedic signs of Scorpio and Taurus until April 2022. So, to simplify, if you have planets in Vedic Taurus where Rahu is transiting, Rahu will amplify and drive those planets. That can be useful, but you need to bring perception and discernment, not to go in for overkill and over-exaggeration. If you have planets in Vedic Scorpio, Ketu will dissolve their earthly manifestation, often with sudden or super strong events, changes and realizations. But for spiritual purpose, if we can identify what's going on and identify the spiritual purpose, and then we make spiritual gain from the Ketu transit. So of course you absolutely have to note which house in your Vedic birth chart is Taurus, where Rahu is transiting, and Scorpio, where Ketu is transiting. So see the simple guide to house meanings, and there's a link to that page on every month page for 2021 and 2020 in my Star Wheel Astrology website. And get a reading from me about the meaning of the transit of the nodes in your life at this present time. Oh, and just by the way, it's also important to note which of the houses in your Vedic birth chart the nodes of the moon are throwing aspects to. The aspects thrown by the nodes of the moon are the conjunction plus houses 5, 7 and 9 from themselves. And as regards the Nakshatras, the super wonderful, vast, declarative 27 Nakshatras, these are the Nakshatras or lunar signs that the nodes are transiting through all January 2021. Ketu is transiting Vedic Scorpio with a mystical penetrating power and energy, and in fact is in Jyesta Nakshatra. Rahu is transiting Vedic Taurus, as I said, and that's Mrigashira Nakshatra. But in fact, Rahu moves into Rohini Nakshatra on January the 27th, and a very different energy. Okay, let's move on to the Jupiter-Pluto-Saturn conjunction. Now, Pluto, Jupiter and Saturn are together in Vedic Capricorn all month. This is rare, explosive and totally life-changing, whether you try and block it and fight it or whether you go for its vastness of spiritual offering. These three planets have not been together in one sign since 1145 and 1146, when in fact the Pope declared a crusade, which didn't go well. So in January 2021, Jupiter transits from 8 to 15 degrees Vedic Capricorn. Saturn transits from 7 to 11 degrees Vedic Capricorn. And Pluto transits from 0 degrees 3 minutes Vedic Capricorn to 1 degree Vedic Capricorn. So basically, what is the essence of these huge combining forces and divine powers? Basically, Pluto is an explosive power energy that forces you to look into your unconscious and buried material. And Pluto offers us the chance to arise to our full and proper power, or we just seek to ignore our power and stuff it down into our unconscious. I love the Jungian concept of the self, which is that others just see a small fraction of the self that is you or me. But behind that is such buried vastness, which we need to become aware of. Things like our shadow, our animus or our anima, our complexes, the manifestation of the life power in our individual life. All those things are not necessarily seen by Joe Bloggs in the street, not necessarily seen by us, but particularly from our mid-40s crisis and other times of Pluto transits, we're called to find out the fullness of us. This is vast, and Jupiter, although weak in January 2021, amplifies the Pluto explosion within us. Now, in some national settings, the Jupiter-Pluto combination will be plutocracy. Although do note that Jupiter is very weak all the time he's in Capricorn. It's a bad sign for Jupiter. And in fact, to make it worse, there's a bad combination between the planets because Jupiter gives and gives and gives to Saturn, and Saturn takes and takes and takes from Jupiter and gives nothing in return. Rashi Avashtas. But do note that Jupiter and Pluto are combining to pit themselves against the bad sides of Saturn, our blocks, our restrictions, our rigidities. So we need to cooperate with the smashing of those blocks, and yet we need to cooperate with the good side of Saturn, which is a demand for a proper structure that suits our identity, our spiritual life path, and bring in a proper structure for our life, a proper pace, a proper diligence, a proper attention to needed detail. And if we obey Saturn's demands in this way, what we receive is karmic golden reaping. So very big changes are being called for in your life now. Get a reading from me. This is the time of the battle of the giants. So do note what house in your Vedic birth chart Capricorn is. What area of life is it for that house? But also note what house in your birth chart Saturn occupies and which houses he rules and aspects. Also note the house that Jupiter occupies and rules in your Vedic birth chart. One very big thing, this is huge, I absolutely predict that recession is on the way. The last time Jupiter entered Vedic sign of Capricorn was 2008. And here in Ireland, the the Celtic tiger, ridiculous bubble, burst. I can see Celtic tiger things happening again. There will be a bubble burst in early January 2021, and it'll last 2 years essentially. Ireland has spent far too much because of the coronavirus epidemic and because of neededly supporting people who've lost their jobs because of it. Ireland can't foot the bill, and Ireland's going to pay a huge bill on customs charges on the stuff that comes in, the vast amount of stuff that comes in from the UK following Brexit, which occurred last night. But there'll also be a recession in the United States as well, and if you have money invested, watch for downturn in the stock exchange. Pull out if you feel, because I think it's going to happen. But remember, the stock exchange is different from the economy, and the economy will have recession. Goodness. And just to repeat that this conjunction, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, is joined at times by Sun, Mercury and Venus in the heavens. So 6 planets are in Vedic Capricorn in January 2021. That is not small. And those other 3 planets, Sun, Mercury, Venus, will all be affected by Capricorn, will all be affected by the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction. This is vast. What a start to 2021. Okay, let's go on to the next of the very big ones, Neptune square the nodal axis. So we will be called at this time, and it's had a run-up and it will have a follow-on, but we will be called to identify what is illusion in our life, generally speaking, and perhaps over 1 or 2 specific issues. And the thing with Neptune is, although one issue might have a lot of illusion, it might also have a tremendous, almost unconscious or intuitive breakthrough potential. So we are challenged at this time to manage concepts and situations and perceptions that are very mixed for Neptune qualities of needed intuition and vision, but also illusion, delusion, fantasy, alcohol, denial, weakness, and drain and deception. It's a big challenge for our life now and for nations now it's a fated time to understand the 2 sides of Neptune. And in fact, I've done a separate standalone post to try and understand this. The only remaining big point is Mars transiting Vedic Aries, but I then want to say a bit about the other planets briefly. So Mars is transiting Vedic Aries, where he meets and conjuncts revolutionary Uranus. That occurs exact on the 19th of January at 12 degrees Vedic Aries. Imagine Mars, the warrior in supreme power, in the sign he rules, Aries, meeting with Uranus, the planet of revolution that was discovered at the time of the French Revolution, the storming of the Bastille, where the USA threw off the British colonial yoke. That is the energy of Uranus. And do be aware that the last time Uranus was in the sign of Vedic Aries was actually the run-up to the Second World War. The last time Uranus was in Aries, Hitler burned down the Reichstag and brought in the Second World War with all the massive changes. That is the same energy. It hasn't occurred since. There's been no intervening contact between Uranus and the sign of Aries. But in this month, in fact exact on the 19th of January, Mars meets Uranus. This is huge if you have a planet in Vedic Uranus. This is huge if you have a planet opposite in Vedic Libra. And you can't resist the call of that sort of revolution. If you do, you've lost your life. You've lost the possibility of fulfillment of who you are. So you see what sort of month January is. In fact, Uranus has been retrograding over recent months, but on the 14th of January, Uranus turns direct. And on the 18th of January, Jupiter in the heavens squares Uranus. Breakthrough. Embrace the breakthrough. I've actually been doing loads of work to embrace these energies. I've been doing 2 sessions of vision work on the land at the back of our house each week. And I found it so valuable to get rid of scripts and definitions that should no longer be part of me and my life. I found it so valuable to be opened up to a truer power, a truer vision at this time. I'm just passing that on in case it's of help to you. Get a reading if you want to find out more. So regarding the other planets, well, basically the Sun moves from 15 degrees Vedic Sagittarius on the 1st of January, moving into Vedic Capricorn on the 14th of January and ending January at 17 Capricorn. At this time, the Sun combusts Jupiter and Saturn, and there is a Sun conjunct Pluto on January the 15th, Sun conjunct Saturn, January the 24th, Sun conjunct Jupiter on January the 29th. My God. Lunations. There's a new moon on the 13th of January at 29 degrees Vedic Sagittarius. Recent eclipse there. And a full moon on the 28th of January at 14 Cancer. So let's just tuck in a brief mention of Mercury and Venus and Chiron. Mercury starts January at 21 Sagittarius, ending January at 2 Aquarius. But then Mercury will be retrograde from January the 31st to February the 20th. Mercury is conjunct Pluto, exact, on January the 5th. What a deep offering for explosive depth of thought, and hopefully not for explosive use of mouth. Mercury is conjunct Saturn and Jupiter. Do have a look at the blog for the dates of all this. Venus transits from 24 Vedic Scorpio, entering Vedic Sagittarius on the 4th of January, entering Capricorn on the 28th of January, and ending January at 4 degrees Vedic Capricorn. A big thing is that at the start of January 2021, Venus is actually conjunct Ketu, the south node of the moon. And for a human born at this time, this is a very difficult script for love relationships and marriage with past life roots. I do a lot of relationships astrology, and Venus conjunct Ketu, you need to hear what it means. It needs to be healed. Chiron moves from 11 to 12 degrees Vedic Pisces in January 2021. So this is very significant for those with planets here, and hugely significant for those with planets opposite in Vedic Virgo. You wouldn't believe some of the Chiron healings I have known for those with planets in Vedic Virgo during this Chiron transit through Pisces. So you can book an astrology reading with me on my Star Wheel Astrology buy page. You can book one of the many worldwide healing modalities my wife Maggie Pashley offers worldwide on her website www.maggiepashley.com. And as a very special offering at these fraught times, also on the Star Wheel Astrology website, Elizabeth Hendricks has created a wonderful online Kabbalah course. And she also does wonderful psychic readings and healings. So see the Elizabeth Hendricks pages also. And I would say I helped her create the Kabbalah course, and one of the many wonderful gifts she has is that when she's working with each Sephiroth of the Kabbalah, it was so wonderful to actually feel the Kabbalah energies in one's body. My goodness, have a very good January. Thank you.